Hi, and welcome to Academic Compliance Academy. In this video, I'm going to talk about ethics and compliance because I got an excellent question asking, is ethics a part of compliance? So to answer this question, we just have to look at some definitions here. So one definition I found, an excellent definition on ethics was, ethics is a branch of philosophy that is concerned with human conduct, more specifically the behavior of individuals in society. Ethics examines the rational justification for our moral judgment. It studies what is morally right or wrong, just or unjust. So it has something to do with behavior of individuals in society that could be reflected on and relevant for compliance. So let's look at a definition of compliance. So compliance concerns an actor, and an actor is a complex organization and conforms its behavior to a set of norms, regulation, or requirements. And the norms, regulation, or requirements are external and internally given. The behavior of the actor is influenced by incentives or compulsion, since the actor would not necessarily be conform with the norm without the incentive. This is interesting. The incentives may also origin from an internal alignment with core values. The actor's behavior is not limited to the functional character of an action, but includes an underlying understanding and execution of how the actor will ensure conformity with the given norm, regulation, and/or requirement. So let's just reflect on this. We have ethics, going back one slide, ethics, human conduct, behavior of individuals in society, what is right, what is wrong, and compliance. How do we behave in accordance with society, with internal and external requirement or expectations? And of course, our core values. There are some similarities here because we can see something about behavior in both of them, but there are also differences because compliance is complying to something. You cannot just say, I'm compliant. You have to address it to something else. So compliance is the functional, kind of a functional character. It's not limited to the functional character of an action, but it reflects on a specific action or an engagement, a commitment that you do. And that action or behavior must reflect something else, and that can be core value, it can be regulation. And there we have some differences because we can have regulation in a country that seems unethical. There's been a lot of policy discussions around immigration policies being unethical. So let's just take that as an example. I could say, well, I comply with the immigrant policy of my country. That immigrant policy might be unethical, unjust. So there could be, here we can see the difference. Ethics that's a standard, that's a philosophy we set on something being just or unjust. What is right, what is wrong, that is how we reflect on these things. And compliance is how do I behave according to something. And that something might not be ethical. You could say that wealth managers might not be ethical. Well, they manage wealth, and that is their core value, is to manage wealth. They want to profit maximize. It might not be an ethical behavior, but they comply to it. So there are differences between ethics and compliance. On the other hand, ethics and compliance can also be part of the same thing, because you might in society try to enhance some ethical behavior in your companies, or something that society seems seems ethically correct or just behavior, and you want your company's, even member state, to behave in a certain way. And that will demand that they comply to some ethical standards. So in these cases, we will have a kind of equivalence. We will have a bond between ethics and compliance. But you can say that I comply to ethical standards, but you cannot say that ethics is compliance. So ethics is kind of beyond compliance, because that would be what you comply to or not comply to if you have unethical behavior. So in practice, the typical problems we see, as you can see here on the picture up right here, right doing, wrong doing. So our typical problems when we talk about ethics and compliance will be that companies typically sometimes tend to disclose certain ethical behavior and they don't comply to it, or they only have limited compliance. And there, well, scandals will await, because if you disclose something, you need to comply to your disclosure. You disclose your own duties. So if you have a strategy which is ethically bound, you need to comply with that strategy. You need to have an ethical lining in your business operation. The same accounts for people, just regular people like you and I. Well, we might act in contradiction to ethical considerations. We might say something and act in contradiction to that saying. And that is not okay. It's not compliant. And if it's non-ethical, well, it's unjust. So we see this problem arising. We even have member states in the EU where we start having discussions about one of the, what could we say, the legal sphere that are most closely connected to ethics, which is human rights. We have member states that challenge the Charter of Human Rights. So there we have maybe unethical behavior and non-compliance at the same time. And there we can see where compliance and ethics actually work together. So is ethics a part of compliance? Well, not necessarily, but compliance may be a way to reach ethical behavior. So that was my answer to this amazing question. Please subscribe to this channel, stay tuned, and let's talk more about compliance.